All right, today we're going to talk about solving multi-step inequalities. Remember, we talked about solving just one-step inequalities, and the big thing with that was we said that anytime that you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch your sign. Now, solving multi-step inequalities is not any different than multi-step equations, but again, you just have to remember if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch your sign. So, let's try. Problem like this. 2 times the quantity of x minus 4 is greater than or equal to negative 6. Okay, so just like an equation, very first thing, we will just distribute. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So I get 2x greater than or equal to 2. I would divide by a positive 2, so I'm not going to switch my sign. I get x is greater than or equal to 1. And that's it. Here's 1. I'm going to graph it. 2, 0, greater than or equal to, arrow goes in that direction. And there you go. So let's try another one. What about something like this? Negative 14 is less than negative 2 times the quantity of x plus 2. Well, again, first step is still the same. We're going to distribute. So we get negative 2x minus 4. Next step looks like we would add 4 to both sides. So I get negative 10 less than negative 2x. And divide by a negative 2. Okay, so now you have to remember, dividing by a negative, switch your sign. So if I say it with the variable first, x is less than 5. So open circle, and arrow goes in that direction. Now, one of the things, though, that we have not talked about yet is a little thing called set notation. And now, depending upon your teacher, they might stress this, they might not, but I want to show you what set notation is. When you are talking about an answer or solution, especially with inequalities, traditionally you write it using what we call set notation. And so if we take this answer right here and write it in set notation, the way you would write it is you'd write it in brackets, and you would write it like this. Okay, sometimes we use a little colon. Some people like to use a little line like that. It means the same thing. So why do we do that? Well, we're trying to be really accurate with our answer, and the way you would read this is you would say there's a couple different ways, but one way that you could say is all values of x, or all real values of x. And then this right here means such that. And then this part right there, x is greater than or equal to 1. So the way you would read this, just by looking at it, you would just say all real values of x such that x is greater than or equal to 1. And that's it. That's what you call set notation. And traditionally we use set notation when we give answers to inequality problems. So let's try this one. Here's our answer here. So I would write it like this. Since we're using x again, I do all real values of x such that, now I'm going to write x is less than 5. Okay, now there's different subtle variations on how to do that, but for the most part, that's how you write set notation. Okay, let's get back. One more problem here. So I'm going to give you a tough one. This would be a good one to try on your own. Hit pause when I'm done writing this and see if you can solve it before I do. Okay, so give that a shot. Okay, so what I would do is this. I would move all my variables to the right. So I would subtract 3x. And I get 2x plus 9 right there. I would then look to subtract 9. So I get negative 2 greater than or equal to 2x. I would divide by 2. Now I'm not going to switch my sign, even though there's a negative there, but I'm not dividing by a negative. So the right way, or the set notation way, would be I'd write all values of x such that x is less than or equal to -1. And if I were going to graph it, I would just do -1, here's 0, here's -2, less than or equal to, and an arrow. And that's it. That's, for the most part, how you go about solving multi-step inequalities.